Hello, team. It's time for the Daily Detangler. And today I want to talk about performance-based reflection and the concept that I've been working on myself to reflect on how to get better without being overly negative and too hard on myself. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I've learned about performance, mirror moments, and being here. So we're in a performance-based business. Not only are we working with sales and marketing teams, we're working with high-performing teams. The expectations on Catalyst are extremely high, and the expectations on ourselves can be high. I don't know about you, but I hold myself to a certain expectation. And on one hand, I get feedback that I need to lower my own expectations and perform less. And then on the other hand, I get feedback that there's always ways to improve, or things that I could always be doing differently, or aligning differently, or thinking differently, or outputting differently. And that's part of being in a performance-based team, especially in a change agency. And I have to learn to be comfortable with that. I don't know about you, but that's something I find important to not only think on, but I have to remind myself that that's just the nature of the business that we're in. We're in the business of performance and experiences. So with that performance-based expectation comes the expectation of outputs, and the outputs we create are part of our experience. It's like a artist or an actor. They have to produce that action. They have to perform, and that's the business they're in. If they didn't want to be on stage with everybody expecting them to do well, then they would be in the wrong profession. And then the third thing I've learned about this performance-based business that we're in, and closing the gap my own self on getting to the point where I can meet those expectations and create those outputs, is leaning into the team and working with the team to accelerate, to move faster, and to be better. Because the team can not only fill my gaps, but they can help me evolve and plug in to the overall experience, which is great. I have to learn to reflect. So that's the concept that I've been thinking a lot about, and it's the mirror moments. Catalyst gives us homework, and we go in, and I can go through and just answer those questions. But when I think about why we're getting those activities, it's to my, in my view, it's to reflect. It's him holding up the mirror and looking in the mirror and, what do I see? And then showing the mirror and my reflection to the team and saying, what do you see? What do you think? And that act of showing and seeing, having people suggest ideas, perhaps even point out what needs to be improved, but more importantly, point out what's working, is really part of this performance-based environment. So this ability to reflect in that way, the ability to stand strong in the mirror and take a step back and look at it and realize that it's a not only healthy requirement, it's a must-have for the change agency that we're in, to close the gap to Catalyst. That's how we evolve. One of the things that I was thinking about in putting this together is what other teams have incredibly high expectations. And my background, I was in the military, and we had really high expectations as officers, and I worked on nuclear weapons. So that expectation was pretty high. But that made me think about the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds in the Air Force. But these are people who are picked out of the best of the best of the best and set apart and given this mission to create an experience. And not only is that experience for everybody to see, but there's a life or death aspect to it. These airplanes are going fast. They have little short wings, which means you have to have a lot of speed. And they're fighters. They're not made to be inverted 6 feet away from each other and flying in formation. And they're in a VUCA environment. Not only are they going fast, but the wind can blow and it can be a bit uncertain. And it's highly complex. These are multi-million-dollar machines flown by individual humans. And when you look at it that way, not only is this a performance-based environment, it's a life or death situation, but it's also one of the most exhilarating and thrilling and motivational experiences to watch, because it's breathtaking what these people can do when they're flying in formation and creating the show. And one of the things, I don't know if you know about this, but one of the things that they do is they do a debrief. And that debrief is part of the experience they create. So let's take a look at that debrief.
Blue Angels, the world's most famous precision flying team. Performing at full throttle, they are the rock stars of the aviation world.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron represents a tradition of pride, professionalism, and excellence.
But it's backstage where the real work begins.
There's a lot more going on than the crowd can see. A lot of training, mental shaping. This is normal.
To join this elite squad, rookies will have to pass some of the most grueling tests imaginable.
It is a lesson of just pure, unadulterated concentration.
It's kind of like relearning how to fly.
You got a lot of work to do.
Being a Blue Angel is hard on top of the flying.
You got maneuver to maneuver to maneuver, and you got to be where you got to be, or else you got a conflict with somebody else.
Strap yourself in for a wild ride with the best in the business.
It's showtime!
If the flying takes concentrated effort, so too does the debriefing session afterwards. Here the pilots evaluate their own performance, citing even the smallest mistake and penalizing themselves for it. This voluntary self-criticism is known as taking a safety.
Kick out of that.
Squadron members believe it creates trust and, while sometimes difficult, helps reinforce a mindset that seeks perfection. Everyone, even the boss, takes part.
Take a safety, low brake, cross first one.
I guess the best analogy would be it's like a mulligan. It's your opportunity to come into the debrief and say, look, these are the things that I didn't do right today. And that is giving you the opportunity to fess up, identify your own shortfalls, and say, I'm going to fix these for tomorrow.
So I will fix my safeties. Glad to be here. Sean?
Mr. Ross, my specific goal was the diamond roll. Safeties, I'll take a safety.
The last thing you say is, I'll fix my safeties. I'm glad to be here. I may just had a really tough flight and be really frustrated, but I'm still in the Blue Angels, and I am glad to be here.
I'll work on this. Glad to be here. Knuckles?
Sure, boss. Coming back here to the field, take a safety for being 250 after the gear's down. Everyone's here to support you. Everyone wants you to do well, and you're going to have those bad days. The guys who are teaching us, they've been through it the year before. They understand completely.
Take a safety for being 60 feet high.
But at the same time, it's such a strong demand for you to perform and for you to study and for you to get this darn thing down that you can't slack off.
No, take a safety for 7.6 in the pub. Fix my safeties. Glad to be here, boss.
Okay, roll 'em.
Following the safeties and self-evaluation comes a more objective and often more painful review with the aid of videotape. Every detail of the practice is examined, frame by frame if necessary.
Pop better in the burner, and I think as your second pop just wasn't enough. Better than yesterday.
As the slot pilot, flying the number 4 jet behind boss and the 2 wingmen, it's Dave Varner's job to point out mistakes or deviation from proper procedure. If he's unsparing in his critique, it's because he has to be. While precision flying is for the pleasure of those watching on the ground, for those in the air, it's still dangerous.
You're behind, Knuckles. So you're overthinking it. We've talked about it. I can't teach you the magic position from where your stick needs to be and your throttle needs to be and how to get there and go on the call. You can only do that by going on the call. And we're not looking at any paint here whatsoever. You're trying to find the magic spot and how to get there. You can't do it, okay? That's why we have Boss. That's why he learns all this calm. And so he can say it the same way every time, do the same thing with his jet, and we can go on his call, okay? So here you're getting a little frustrated, which you shouldn't be. We're talking, breathe on it a little bit. You've got to continue the drive and roll. It's not just rudder throughout this roll.
Varner takes his job seriously, but being a newbie just last year, he also recalls what Shipley and Sacamando are going through.
I go from number 3 pilot, you know, knucklehead to know-it-all in a handshake, really, at the end of last year, okay? Because your priorities aren't where they should be here. So you come into this train job, you know all of the procedures, okay? But I'd never been in the slot. I'd never seen it from that perspective. So there's a little apprehension as far as, hey, how am I going to teach these guys? What's my teaching style?
So hashtag glad to be here, finding something to improve and calling it out. If you reflect on that and take a look at what's happening there in that high performance environment, there's a lot of authenticity, there's a lot of transparency, and there's a lot of trust. They call out their safeties, and I tend to want to call out my suit, my business suit, and say, I'm going to take a suit on that. I slipped into my business suit, hashtag glad to be here. And I'm trying to call out my suit moments. And that's one of the things that you can help me with is if I show up with my suit on and not my superhero suit. So my business suit. So, one of the things I'm working on is calling out my suit. So this to me is embracing conflict, the positive side of conflict. Principle 5 is embracing conflict. But when you look at it, look at why the conflict is happening. It's because of the experience. And look how they're leading with themselves and what their role is. Each pilot has a role. They have courage to put themselves out there, literal courage, life and death courage, but mental courage and the willingness to share with each other in the courageous conversation as they hold the mirror up and have that mirror moment. And then they trust the process, and it's about getting it right. So be in the moment and add your pebble, because one reflection at a time, one suit at a time, calling out your business suit helps build the bridge to change. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. I hope you enjoyed this performance-based reflection detangler. As always, have a great day and check out dailydetangler.com. I'll see you tomorrow.